Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Blue Abroad Show, the happy Blue Abroad Show after a win. Nothing better than talking about what's going on after we get the job done. I've got Joseph Adamo with me, Mr. 12 and 10 himself. What's going on?
Well, we're gonna clear that up. I'll just pump the brakes a little bit. We'll clear that up. But no, I'm good, mate. Always good after a win. I got to go. We're gonna clear that up. I got to go with yourself and the crew, so it was a very, very good Saturday night, to say the least.
It was. No, we're going to wait for some people to come in and join the show before we clear the air about what's going on with this 12 and 10, because there's rumblings everywhere. There's Kool-Aid being spilt, but I'm excited. We've got a good show, and finally we can talk with, a little bit of confidence and a little bit of positivity. Well, a lot of positivity. You got to enjoy the wins as they come along. So, why don't we roll the intro, get started, and get straight into it.
What's going on? Internet!
Martin's been very impressive every single time.
I saw the Carlton supporters, thank you for all the love.
Great sense of play in Glasgow. And there's a vantage bar. The ball inside 50. Control! He strikes it beautifully. He's got it.
I love it. Gets me going every time.
Especially after a win. Geez.
Especially after a win. I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid at the moment. I've got the tea. I've got the candle. Nice chill vibe tonight. And really just want to enjoy the night for what it is. We haven't really had too many nights like this after games like we had. But before we get into that, I just want to give a bit of a shout out. There are going to be some names scrolling across the bottom here. These are the members of the Blue Abroad YouTube channel. It's phenomenal, the support that you guys have put in, and it's really allowed things to grow at the rate that they have. So all of your names and your shout outs are here. Joe, let's start with you for a moment. How are you going? How are you feeling? And maybe we can clear up what's going on. You got some things to get off your chest from the outset.
I'm feeling good. I think everyone knows I'm feeling good at the moment. No, look, I want to clear it up. So obviously we went to the game, and I didn't expect this 12 and 10 to turn into something that people latched onto, because it's not something that I can actually control. So it's very scary. But just for everyone tuning in, I did this because I went to the Adelaide game with Terry. The Blues were in a rut. I could see Terry was in a rut. I wanted to just enjoy the game with Tez, and I went, you know what? What better way to do it than to try and convince him that we can push for finals if we win this game? And that's all it was supposed to be. And then Terry goes off and does his review, says, oh, Joe, he's missed the 12 and 10. He sucked me in, this and that. And not only Terry, but there were plenty of you that came up to both Terry and I on Saturday, especially I've seen Adele there in the comments. She even jumped on board. But just screaming 12 and 10 at us. And I just want to say, buy in at your own peril. I will not be held responsible when we finish the season 8 and 14 and there's emotional damage to the masses. I don't want to cop any of that, but if we do beat, I said to Terry, if we do beat the Cats, if we do, and we'll talk about it, you'll see me. I'll go full on with it. I'll take the reins, and we're just going to go all in.
Mate, you disappoint me because I'm on board.
I'm
on board. I'm absolutely on board. And when we beat Geelong this week, you're going to be saying, I told you so. I knew it. I just think you should go ahead with it. I think everyone knows it's, you know what? I'll be honest with you. I need to give you some credit. You pulled me out of my own Carlton coffin. I was dead to the season. I wasn't happy. So I do need to thank you for that. And I think you're right. I mean, I look at the fixture. All of a sudden after a win, we are seriously something else. The Carlton fans. We find something to latch onto. And then we start drinking the Kool-Aid. There it is, right there. But I think what the weekend sort of reminded me of was how ready the fans are to be good. I mean, it was just a small game in the context of the journey to the premiership. But goodness me, the vibe on Saturday was unbelievable, wasn't it?
Oh, there was 12,000 people there. It sounded like 40 at one stage. Like it was insane. It was a proper Carlton win where your brother Chris at quarter time was like, this is what it feels like to just feel good at the footy, because we were just relaxed. Everyone was calm. We were having a bit of a party at quarter time, and then by three-quarter time, it was head in hands. It's going to happen again. I can't believe we bought in. This is ridiculous. It was a roller coaster, as it always is at Carlton Sporting. I genuinely wouldn't have it any other way. I wouldn't.
Of course, we are like a movie. We really are. It's just the sum of all parts. We'll touch on the game shortly. We'll start off with just briefly, I guess, with what happened earlier in the day, and that was the Carlton Reserves game. Now, Mr. Sebastiani will have the Reserves review up in the next few days. He's been busy filming the jumper punch with the boys, and boy, oh boy, I got to tell you, their special guest, you're in for a treat. But the Carlton Reserves, Joe, it was disappointing. I mean, they were there up until three-quarter time and then fell away.
Yeah, I mean, they sort of got blown out a little bit in the first quarter as well. I think Kobe kicked 5. We got ourselves back into it. Ahead by 2 points at three-quarter time, and then it was 7-1 in the last quarter. So, disappointing. I don't know. We've got a few AFL listed players at that level at the moment as well, which is probably even the bigger disappointment when you think about it. It's not like we've got, that we're thin in the reserves because we're injury hit to the point where, the bottom enders are being forced into games at AFL level. Like, we've still got some pretty good talent down in the reserves, and to see efforts like that against Coburg, to see efforts like what we gave against Box Hill a few weeks back, it's just I don't know. It's disappointing. Paul Sebastiani was saying that three-quarter time, it was like you could hear a pin drop in the huddle when the game's in the balance. So I don't know. There needs to be a bit of fight, a bit of mongrel in this group, because it just looks like they lack confidence completely at times.
Yeah. I mean, I read Mark McKenzie's report in the Blue Horizons Facebook group. It was really the only thing I could find on there, apart from the Carlton Reserves. It was the standard. They're not really going to give away too much. Obviously, very disappointing result, but it seemed like Parks was really the only one that did something that you look at and you say, yeah, he's ready for selection. Honey Ramsey, the usual suspects are thereabouts. Brody Kemp, maybe we'll touch on him later, and what the plan is there moving forward, and when we get him in, and do we wait until the season's absolutely dead, or do we bring him in and just give him a run? So, yeah, it was disappointing. They've lost 2 in a row, and the Bull Ants game is a very, very, very bad loss, and I can't help but feel like this one is as well, because you need strong reserves. You need someone pushing up.
Yeah, for sure, and you need those players like Ramsey, like Honey, Kemp. They need to be flying the flag, and they need to seriously be trying to push senior players out for their spots by winning games. It's fine to have great individual games at reserves, but if you're not winning, it's not going to stand out. Simple as that. So, I don't know. They're in a bit of a rut, bit of a hole. Need to get that season back on track in the reserves. Otherwise, it's going to slip away very quickly.
Well, fingers crossed. We will wait for the reserves report, and then we will go from there. But listen, let's just get right into what we came here to do, man. Let's talk about Saturday night. We'll start off as we always do. Joe, give me your high-level summary of what happened. And in the meantime, everyone at home, I need 3 words to describe what you experienced on Saturday night.
Yeah, I mean, I think I said it a little bit before, where there was a bit of a buzz. Like, it was a very, very cold night at the G. Anyone that was there, I think felt it. But there was just this hum, bit of a buzz in the crowd. You could see there weren't many people there, but there was an atmosphere. I went to the Melbourne game earlier this year, and there was no atmosphere there with 4 times the crowd. So there was just something in the air. Started brilliantly. Just pressure gauge was off the charts. My boy Paddy Dow just you see, first quarter.
You want to go early on Paddy Dow, do you?
We were going off our rocker in that first quarter for Paddy Dow. Some of the individual brilliance in that first half was incredible. It was a really good first half. We faded away at the end of the second quarter. That trickled into the third. Freo had their run, and that's when the doubt obviously started to creep back in. But the way we finished the game was phenomenal. We kicked 2 goals 5 to 1 point in the last quarter, so we could have easily buried them. We had our chances as much as they did. I think our kicking kept us in the game early on. Freo sort of, missed a few very, very gettable chances to probably put them ahead early. But hey, you can pick out negatives by saying, it was too much of a slog. We let them back in this and that. At the end of the day, we've lost so many games in that fashion that, for me, I only see positives in the way that we were able to grind that out and the way that we were able to just get on top of them in the last and finish it out. So yeah, I think everyone was just wrapped at that final siren.
Yeah. There's an interesting notion about, I wasn't good enough and we should have won by more and it should have been 10 goals. And like, based on what? Based on what do we have the right to say that we are good enough to put that Freo side? I mean, yes, we put them away early in the season. They were missing, a few, especially in defence, and Harry really got off the leash. But they've improved. And I mean, they were always going to come back. We started off really well, which is, we've got to remember, this is the starts to games is something we were criticising them for only 12 months ago. That's something we really need to fix up. And they did that in 2020. I thought that was the story of 2020, what we were able to fix. Freo came back into it. I think the third quarter, especially that last 5-6 minutes, that was disappointing, I thought, in terms of the whole game, because we just kept panicking and we just kept going back into our shell. And you and I were talking quite a lot at various stages about, the handball game. Pom came on here last week and he was talking about we need to utilize that a little bit more. Teague's a very kick-happy coach and that's his style, and then fair enough, it is what it is. But the handball chains really seemed to spark energy amongst them and it got others involved. What did you make of that?
Yeah, there were 2 plays in particular. I think one was in it may have been in the last. It was either in the last or the second quarter. I'm getting mixed up. I know which end they were kicking, but I think you remember what play. Actually, it was the second when Harry took that contested mark in the goal square, and there was 5 handballs over the top, quick ones, bang, 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 JSOS into the inside 50 kick to finish it off to Harry. So I agree. Like we've actually got some really good runners in the side, which we don't utilise enough because of the kicking game. At the same time, we also don't have very good kickers. We're really not a great kicking efficiency side. We're one of the worst in the comp. So I don't understand this fascination with being kick heavy. If we get more of a balance, link up with those handball chains, maybe that's how we can unlock some more efficiency going inside 50, because we're going at 52% inside 50 in scoring efficiency this game, and that's off the charts for us. And I would say a lot of it comes down to that use of the handball.
Yeah, it was. I think as disappointing as that third quarter was. I mean, defensively, this is something you've been big on over the last few weeks. You've noticed something that's really changed defensively. But I mean, I thought they were scoreless in the fourth quarter from the 2-minute mark onwards. I think they kicked it behind from memory, and then that was it. They didn't score for the rest of the game, and I think that's something that needs to be said.
Oh, for sure. I mean, think back to the Sydney game, think back to the West Coast game, think back to the Collingwood game. Think there's so many games you can think back to this year. Brisbane, where we got ourselves back into it and then we just faded because defensively we weren't up to it. David King on Fox Footy, he's actually done a brilliant job this year analysing our defensive structures. And if you haven't watched his First Crack podcast from yesterday on Fox Footy, because he's been so intent on how Carlton play defensively, he's picked on that again, but in a positive way. And he said the last 2 weeks, David Teague and the coaching staff should be given as much credit as anyone else for turning it around as quickly as possible. Do yourselves a favour, go watch the footage, because versus 2-3 weeks ago when there was just no defensive effort, there was just obvious confusion on the field on where players needed to be. We are much more structured. Okay, we conceded 23 scoring shots. They also conceded 21 or 20, however many we had on the board. So both had their chances. But we just look like we're holding up a little bit better and we're not conceding that easy transition as much in games. There's always going to be turnovers. There's always going to be moments where there's a lapse, but it's not a full quarter anymore. Like even the third quarter wasn't a full quarter. It was just the last 5 minutes, and we switched on again in the fourth. absolutely broke the game open in the fourth. So yeah, I'm rapt to see what they've done defensively. If we can hold that structure for the rest of the season, it's gonna make us a much more competitive side. This is the Carlton of 2020 that we saw during that COVID season.
Yeah, I think so too. I mentioned it in my review today, and it really does still resonate with me right now. Like, we haven't really had a patch of form to be excited about or a moment. And I'm not going to really say that this was the game. I think if we go on and beat Geelong, that will be the moment, because I wasn't really overly excited with how we beat Adelaide last week. But I always felt like if we could back it up against Fremantle, then last week looks a little better. And then I think the same thing applies. If we can just put it all together, and we're going to talk about next week, a little later. But yeah, it was just to feel everyone's energy around at the ground, to feel that again. I think is important, just to remind. I think I needed a reminder of, what are we doing this all for? Like, what does it actually look like when it's good? I think you're right. Like, my brother, young fella, 19, turns around at quarter time and says, this is weird. Like, I don't really know what to feel because I feel good. Like, it doesn't, But having said that, I think we all are very clear. We've still got a lot more improvement in us. There's a lot more to fix up.
Yeah, agree. And I've seen a couple of Pommy's comments here around, we did the bare minimum as a requirement, got it done, but we got smashed around the contest. I agree. We got absolutely outclassed by a midfield that is genuinely, when they're on song, they are one of the better midfields in the comp. I said this earlier in the year when we played Freo. I really, really rate their midfield, and it didn't surprise me when they got smashed around the ball. But earlier in the season, if we got smashed around the ball like that, it would have been a 30-point loss or a 24-point respectable loss. We would have somehow found a way to kick 80 points but concede 130 or 120, whatever it is. This was different. We got smashed. There was no transition. We didn't allow them to transition quickly. Maybe on one occasion, I remember, where they transitioned really quickly off a turnover. But behind the ball, we were set up so much better. There were times, even, Tez, where you were pointing it out going, Freo, I've got nowhere to go here. Even on the switch, they tried to switch it a couple of times when we were there. On the spread, stopped them straight away. So you can see that there's gradual improvement throughout the season. Has it come too late? Most likely. But if there was no improvement to this point, we'd be 4-11, and it'd be a completely different conversation. Yeah.
What were some of the moves you noticed, that coaching moves this week, that you think maybe haven't been spoken about? Maybe I'll give you a chance to think about it, because I have put you on the spot there. And then you guys at home, what were some of the coaching moves you thought? I mean, for me, we're going to get into our votes shortly, but I think what hasn't been spoken about, and I think it's probably because we won the game, is we're missing Zach Williams and Sam Doherty. Now, if we're missing one of them, the other one probably fills in and plays that role behind the ball. But I just thought Nick Newman's ability to step up, I don't know, I just really rated it. And I just feel like it's not really getting much coverage anywhere. What about you? Were there any other coaching moves you thought? Because every week we talk about the coach and he's not doing this right, he's not doing that right. So maybe we can talk about what did work with the coaching this week.
Yeah, I don't think it's just this week. I think it's the last 2 weeks, right? So you've seen Kennedy start at set of bounces, to start the game. You've seen Dow thrown into the middle and stay in the middle, not play off this half-forward, pissy role that they had him playing for 2 years, 3 years as part of his development. Like, it's those moves as well that have helped us. Even though we got smashed around the contest, Kennedy and Dow started the game brilliantly, and they were winning clearances and getting it going for us in the middle. So there was that. I agree. Nick Newman, phenomenal. Like, last 2 weeks has been something else. He was medical sub last week, came on and had one of the best games of his career, and then he's backed it up again this week with probably arguably a better game. So the other one that to probably mention is Stocker, and I know he's been playing that role since he's come into the side, but bloody hell, this kid has played 10 games and you wouldn't know it. You'd think he's played 80, how composed he is in that halfback role. I was initially very pissed off that they started him off the halfback. I wanted to see him go into the middle, but do you know what? He's a very, very calm head down back for someone his age, and he's got some mongrel and aggression to really. He's Reese on our podcast, I think tomorrow, says that he's that Toby Green, James Sicily for us. He's that player that other teams are going to hate, but we're just absolutely going to love because of how aggressive he is. So hat off to Stocker as well in that back half, especially with Doherty and Williams not there to fill in.
Yeah, Wildy has literally taken the words out of my mouth. Stocker has an aura about him. I like to refer to him as the gazelle. Just a big, I went and watched him in the VFL when he had that 38 possession game, I think it was, where he dominated, and like the sun just, hits his skin different. It's it's just he's different. He's built different. He's a classy lad. He's got a little bit of the suburban grit, but private school international boy. Like, he's just got the package. And mate, I referenced a friend of mine, Lippy, who lives in Tel Aviv, really good friend of mine, and when we drafted him, he said, mate, this guy will be captain of the club one day. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm with you. But yeah, I love what he brings. And my housemate who was with us at the game, he turned to me and he said, I get why Stocker's playing behind the ball. Like, I get why they're putting him there. I hate to say it, but it does make sense. And,
it makes more sense than Samo playing behind the ball. I'll put it that way. Like, I'm not upset that Stocker's playing behind the ball because I can see the value that he adds there. Can I just also say, talking about coaching moves, and it's not something that's been spoken about for a little while. Well, without McGovern, Casbolt's essentially null and void as a forward. No Charlie Curnow. We've basically had Harry Mackay, Jack Silvani, or Harry Mackay and Tom DeConning as two talls. We haven't run with a three-tall structure for a long time. And it's something that the coaching staff, I think they need to hang their hat on, because we've run with a smaller lineup. JSOS pushing up the ground. Harry often won out with a couple of smalls at his feet. And I think we've looked better. We've looked better up forward. They bit the bullet. They binned that three-tall structure when we didn't have the personnel. And for me, since that Adelaide game especially, I think that's it's worked wonders. So hat off to him.
Yeah. I think it's going to be very interesting come the off-season, no matter what happens, because it just seems like we've got – it's hard to say. It's hard to articulate this. It's kind of like we've got too many players that we don't need, I think the balance it looked better. I'm with you. I'm not really sure about this three-tall forward system, because obviously Charlie's got to come back into this side. Do we assume that he comes in for Levi? If so, do we still need ruck support for Tom? There's so many moving parts to this, and then you still got to know, like, you just don't know what's around the corner. You got to have backup. Maybe we'll talk a little bit more about list strategy later on in the season as it goes on. But yeah, why don't we get into the votes? Why don't we start with the coaches' votes? Let's start there. So you've got them there, and they came out about an hour and a half or 2 hours ago. What were the coaches' votes in the end?
Yeah, so Jack Silvani and Paddy Dow, they got one each. Andrew Brayshaw had 4. Sam Walsh and Paddy Cripps had 5. And Jacob Wiedering and Sean Darcy had 7 votes each. So, I mean, it's about right for me. Sean Darcy, especially seeing him at the top, I think he absolutely dominated both DeConning and Casbolt around the ground for the majority of the game. Good to see Wieders up there. I thought that was the guy. If you're sitting here not thinking that he's going to be the next captain of our club or future captain of our club, you're dreaming, because that's captain material all over. And yeah, so it was a really good. I struggled with my votes this week because I thought it was just a really good all-round performance. There's a lot of people on here saying that there were a lot of individual brilliance that got us over the line, but it was individual brilliance as a collective. There wasn't one or two players that had the same moments over and over again. There was a handful. Yeah,
I think so too. I think it was. I felt a lot more team spirit and team cohesion this week, and yeah, I'm with you on that. I don't think it was just one or two players that got us over the line. I think there were a good 5 or 6 or so. I think everyone contributed in some way. I mean, even Levi, who, we were pulling our hair out with Levi early, but let's be honest, his fourth quarter was a very much a significant part of what got the result.
Absolutely, he had the Bronx cheers all night from the Carlton fans when he took his first mark, but he had 2 seriously critical contested marks on the wing in the last quarter. And without that, Freo would probably get a rebound and get another inside 50. So again, as much as you want to hang shit on Levi and use him as a whipping boy, had his moment. And you nailed it, because I sort of said this to Rocco too at halftime, and he was talking about, Samo, how's he only had 8 touches, he's got to really step up. And I said, you don't actually need every midfielder or every player to have 20, 25 touches to impact. You need every player to step up at different times to carry the load. It's not Cripps for 4 quarters. It's not Walshy for 4 quarters. It's Walsh for a quarter, then it's Dow, then it's Kennedy, and really throw the magnets around to try and create a little bit of chaos for the opposition coaches to try and figure out. And that's what I saw. That's seriously what I saw. You know, there's a lot of people saying you're lucky it was Freo. I disagree. They were playing for a final spot. They've played some really good footy this year. I'm sorry, they've played some really, really good footy this year. They had a full strength side outside of Matt Taberner. And I think they brought it right to us. Like it's not like we played North Melbourne and just scraped over the line. This was a really, really good win.
Spot on. People are putting in their votes. What were your votes? 3, 2, and 1, and we're going to we'll go to a notable afterwards. But what were your 3, 2, and your 1?
Yeah, I gave one to Matt Kennedy. I thought he started brilliantly. He faded out, and then his last quarter was phenomenal. I think he had something like 11 touches, if I'm not mistaken. And just he was everywhere. His pressure was everywhere. He assisted Walsh's goal. So yeah, one for Kennedy. I had 2 for Jack Silvani. Work rate all game, 9 score involvements, 2 goals. You know, just phenomenal. This kid. I've said that he's our most important player, forward of centre, for a long time. And I think he's really starting to show that. And say what you want, you can disagree with me. 3 votes, my boy. He's arrived. Paddy down. Hey, don't laugh, because you were saying to me, and for everyone listening, you said to me, and you can't deny it, you said to me, he's Darcy Parish. You said, I'm looking at – yes? Okay. So you want to talk about drinking Kool-Aid 12 and 10 and whatnot. Tez has just gone early on Dowie being Darcy Parish. So jump on board. Let's get that hashtag going this week.
Mate, I opened up a bottle of Prosecco for the fan cams. I had 1 cup and then didn't drink any more. I was absolutely drinking the Kool-Aid, and that's true. So Joe, one thing I like about going to the footy with you throw jumper punches when we kick goals.
I'm sorry. You know what? I need to apologise to you, Ave and Chris. Adele, I made sure I steered clear of, but there's something that comes over me in those moments where I have to get people going.
No apologies needed. We need a little bit more physicality at the contest, not just from players, but from fans, in a respectful way, obviously, because Carlton respects. Yeah, but cool. I'm all about it, mate. If you're not giving me jumper punches when we're winning, then I don't want to be with you.
No, I think I need to just wind that back just a touch. But no, yeah, look, it's good going footy with you, Tez. We've said until we lose, I think we're going together.
I'm with you. Listen, my votes were: I gave 1 vote to Weeders, I gave 2 votes to Walsh, and I gave Newey the 3, because I just really rate what he did and how he stepped up in a leadership role. And we're not talking about it because we won the game, but Williams and Doc being out, they are significant outs for us. To lose in 1 week, like to lose from a side in 7 days that played the week before, I just think, it was how I saw it. So, yeah, what about your notable? Who's a player that hasn't been mentioned but deserves a mention?
Oh, it's a tough one. You know what? I'll say Paddy Cripps, to be honest.
True?
Looked like, you said it yourself, looked like he broke his leg. Same incident as that Melbourne game a few years back. And it was just like, oh, please don't be.
Yeah.
It was. I think he twisted his ankle or something. His ankle got caught in a kick, and to his credit, he was playing really well up until that point. I thought he was really good around the contest, and then after that point, he took it to another level, literally on 1 leg. So say what you want about the man. Since he signed that contract, or just prior, when it was pretty much a done deal and it was unofficial. He looks like he's back, and he looks like a true, finally for me, looks like a true leader of this football club. Really does. Yeah,
I'm with you. I'm real big on this. I think that when you just strip it all back and you think about all we really do live in an age of information that's just coming at us at all times. And you think about Cripps, heavily scrutinized club that he plays for. He had not signed the contract at the time. There's so many, moving parts to his life and what's going on, and pressures, and living in Melbourne and playing for the club that he plays for. And then all of a sudden you sign the contract, and then a really big chunk of that information that he's, absorbing, he's just not there anymore. That's it. We're not asking questions. Is he signing? Is he staying? And I just can't help but feel like he's playing with a little bit of freedom mentally. And I think it's quite ironic that he also doesn't have the shoulders strapped anymore. I think that's just a timing thing and it's a coincidence. But he's moving better. It's a real shame that he's, sprained this foot. I saw the footage of him in a moon boot on Channel 7 News. I'm hoping that because he was able to run out the game, that means he'll be able to get up for next week. But funnily enough, when he handballs and just handballs, it's actually better for us, isn't it?
Absolutely. He's a handballing player. He's not a kicker. He never has been. His kicking is well documented. It's really not great for someone that's an elite player in this competition. Use your hands, Cripper. It got us going. You spoke about it before. Those handball chains, a lot of them he was involved in, and it was so good to see him just get back out there and go to another level. He wasn't a statue. He wasn't just – I watched the replay. At the ground, we actually said that he looked like he couldn't move. I watched the replay, and I was completely wrong. He was everywhere. He was literally everywhere once he came back onto the ground. So, look, those sort of injuries of sprained ankle like that, played out soccer games and then pulled up really sore for the next week. I think once it gets cold, it really, really starts to pinch. But hopefully, fingers crossed by next Saturday, if there's some painkiller injections that we can get into him, he's not the type of person that rests too easily. So I'd expect him to be out there.
Yeah, spot on. I'm going to give my notable player to Lockie Plowman. Now, there was there were two moments where it was like, oh, Lockie. The first one was, I think it was in the second quarter where he just overran the ball and it sort of spilt in between his legs, which maybe that's unlucky. The other one was when they were switching the ball and he kicked it out in the full, and you're just thinking that is exactly what we need to happen in terms of we want to be able to switch the ball and have confidence that we can do that. But anyway, apart from that, I just think he was great for us on Saturday night, and because he's played with that back six for years now. There's a synergy when he's in the group. And say what you want, Walters is out of form, yes, but at the same time, he can get off the leash in any given game. And we know what we're like, giving up form to small forwards. That's what we've done. And I just think he did a really good job. He gave up that one goal to Liam Henry, but it was really because of a mistake further up the ground and he was caught one out. But I just think he was really solid for us. And, I think Jacob Wiedering probably deserves a mention as well amongst all of this too. But, I gave it to Lockie Plowman.
He's phenomenal. And there was a comment before around Stocker playing on Toby Green and Liam Ryan, and he's not a defender. It shows that he's not. He was forced into that position because Plowman wasn't playing in those games. He missed the Sydney game on Papley. He missed the West Coast game on Ryan. He missed the GWS game on Toby Green. He has nullified the small forwards at Adelaide and Freo in the last 2 weeks. He actually switched between Walters and Liam Henry at times, and when he was there, he's just becoming that player where if it's one-on-one, I'm fine. All good. Lockie's there. He's become a real stalwart in that back half. So, absolutely agree, Tez.
Yeah. It's all about this moment for me. I'm going to play a clip, short one.
With speed, eat my dust, heads long, forward pocket, Wiedering, what a grab!
It's giving me goosebumps. Oh my God, it's giving me full goosebumps everywhere. That's insane.
Yeah, I think there's another symbol to Saturday night. Now, Doc out of the side, you can mount the case that I think the journey of our back 6 or 7, right? You've had Doherty, who really was the general, obviously did his knees, and then, Wiedering still up and coming, learning his craft. I think, and this is just how this is what I'm seeing unfold. This back 6, Jacob has to take it and make it his. It's his instruction. He is in charge of everything there. It sort of was Doc, and then I'm sort of feeling it moving towards Jacob, and that's maybe why they've been comfortable in moving Doc up the ground onto a wing. I think Wiedering, hopefully this is like a little bookmark we can put in the story of the club as we move to that premiership. I think this was one of the important games of Wiedering, taking control of this back line. And I think the footage of him screaming at them to calm the fuck down at the end of the third is another symbolic moment. Because I'm always looking for little moments and energy transfers and things like that. And I think it was one of those moments.
Yeah, and I'm all for co-captains. I'm all for being leaders and Crips, to be honest. Like, I've got no problem with co-captains. I just think that Doc would probably be better off without at this point. Just focus on your game, focus on getting back to your best footy. You spoke about moments of leadership on the field. I pointed it out to yourself and Ave at the ground. Samo in the fourth had this little 8-metre kick that almost caused a huge rebound turnover from Freo on the wing. And I saw Wiedering about 15 metres away and screaming at Samo, and I'm thinking, fuck, he's going to blast him here. Like, that was piss poor. But Samo turned around, hands on head, like, oh my God, like, I need to relax. And Wiedering just said, settle, calm, like, onto the next, and he just went onto the next one. And for me to see that from a guy who, for perspective, was in the 22 under 22 team last year, so that's how young he still is. To see a guy in our back line do what he does from a leadership perspective on field, we've got one of the at the end of his career, we will be saying that we have got one of the all-time great defenders, and that we've been able to witness that for the better part of 10 to 15 years.
Yeah, I hope so. I think that's it. I guess I've just given my subplot of the game, my story of the game, in Jacob Wiedering, taking control of the defence. Do you have a story or a subplot of the game?
Look, yes, I do. There's been so much pressure put on Teague. We had the debate. There's a review going on. There's, he can't coach on game day. He can't do this. And then there's the whole thing of the players aren't playing for Teague anymore. They've chucked it in. It's not happening. They don't believe in the system. Do not forget, first off, the groundswell of support in 2019 from the playing group, not from us as fans. We wanted him as well, but from the playing group themselves. This is still largely the same playing group that's playing. Please, if you haven't looked at it closely, go back and look at the end of the game. Every single Carlton player ran up to David after the game. Massive hugs, smiles, high fives, whatever you want. Samo, so many people have garnered this rumour that Samo's out of favour with Teague. He's off to Western Australia. Go have a look at the way that David Teague embraced Sam Petrevski-Seton at the end of the game, and the jubilation of the group around this coach. If you genuinely believe, if you are in the camp that they are not playing for this coach, I don't know what you're seeing. I really don't. It's still there. They believe in what's going on. Cripper wouldn't have signed the deal that he didn't if he didn't believe in the current crop, including the head coach. Harry Mackay wouldn't have signed on for 2 years when he's getting 1.2 mil thrown at him from North and Essendon. Just please go have a look at that footage, because if it doesn't change your mind, nothing will. Nothing will.
Yeah, I mean, I think I take what you're saying, but for me, we will find out. This conversation will be very clear to us at the end of the season. And yeah, they've had a good 2 games now. Finish the season strongly and prove in the next 6 games that we've got that you're playing for David Teague, because really, they can save his job for sure. They can save his job for sure if they pull their finger out and start winning when they should be winning and start improving. I think it's a little early to say that they're playing for David Teague, because we'll find. I just think we've got a good body of work to put in front of us before we make that declaration. But mate, if you're seeing it now, I'm with you on the post-game celebrations and the hugs and all of that. Like, of course they want him to succeed. I really doubt any playing group would revolt like that for their coach. And I think, I think they do love him. Obviously, the question marks are around his game style, his game plan. Is he the right coach for this group? Do they need more discipline? But at the same time, do they need a coach is this going to be a player-led group as opposed to a dictatorship-led group? Who knows? The fact that we're even asking these questions now is a little bit of Kool-Aid, but that's okay.
No, look, and I get it. If it's all based on performance here for Teague, and if they don't get the performances, then that's fine. Like, the club will do what they need to do. They'll find out what they need to find out from this. But, 18 months he's had this group. 18. Like, it's not like he's been in the job for 5 years and we've gone nowhere. He's had 18 months officially with this group. He's lost Charlie Curnow in that time, hasn't even had a full functioning forward line. You know, there's plenty surrounding that where I just think it's there. You can see it in patches. It will click. It will click.
Speaking of Charlie, sorry, the chat is going off.
It is.
Pom has got something here that says huge noise Curnow plays his VFL wicket. Pom, you need to be very careful.
Yeah, just take it easy.
Do not throw the Charlie Curnow to play out there unless you're sure, because there is something that will unveil within us when Charlie plays again. It's undeniable.
I heard those rumors today as well. I'm not even buying into that yet. I think it's 2 weeks. I'm still saying 2 to 3, maybe 1 to 2, depending on what training block he's in. But fuck, if he plays this week, oh my God, there'll be a bigger crowd waiting to get into the VFL game. If he's named on the team sheet, then there probably will be at the MCG on Saturday afternoon.
Abso-fucking-lutely, mate. Absolutely. Listen, let's move on from the game. And apparently we've now got a weekly MRO report to give, because it seems like this is just what happens. And this is our chance. And I love this because I'm not really in the camp of the AFL are out to get us, but I kind of love talking about it and giving it some airtime. And if you believe the AFL are out to get us, well, this is the time to tune in. What the fuck are these fines for? It's rubbish, Joe. How does Stocker get fined $2,000 without even giving away a 50-metre penalty for that hit?
Yeah.
What the fuck's going on here, mate?
And am I right that Levi's $3,000 one was when he jumper punched someone? Is it that incident that I'm thinking of?
So I'll tell you right now. Caspot was charged with rough conduct as a result of a third quarter incident. They assessed it as careless conduct, low impact, and high contact, which carries a $3,000 fine with an early plea. I mean, so many fucking contests can fall into that category. You know, like Stocker was the same, $2,000 fine instead of a $3. Yeah. I remember the hit. We were up and about. It was a strong hit. And then when I watched the game again, the way the commentators really, put the mail on the hit, they sort of said, oh, bang, and it kind of made it look worse than what it was. Like, it was a late hit. It was a 50-metre penalty, if anything. But if the umpire on the day doesn't adjudicate that it's a 50-metre penalty, how is that same action a fucking $2,000 fine?
If the umpire on the day doesn't report him and put him in the book, why is it even looked at? Like, I'm sorry, it's ridiculous at this point. There is Hocking and Christian, they both have so much to answer for this season, not just from a Carlton perspective, but the inconsistencies of the MRO are as bad as it's ever been. I don't know if you spoke about it last week on the show, you may have, but Williams and Stewart.
Yeah.
Williams pops up on social media, everyone's in uproar, but Tom Stewart, it's on social media as he's fired up and Charlie's having a laugh about it, Charlie Cameron, and it's the same incident. One cop to fine, one cop to week. Where's the consistency? There's absolutely nothing. It is ridiculous. If Stocker had have been suspended for that hit,
mate.
I'll tell you now, there'd be riots at AFL House. There genuinely would have been.
Do you think, is it possible? I don't know if this is possible. Can we pay for fines? Can fans donate to pay for fines? Because I'd love to.
Get a GoFundMe going. Let's do it. Why not? You know what? Let's contact the club and say we're going to chip in for Stocker's fine and Levi's fines because they're fucking rubbish. They're rubbish.
I would happily pay another couple of $100 on top of my membership for the fine kitty if it meant these boys came out and threw a few jumper punches. I've got no issue with that.
It's a really good point. Someone in the comments before, I can't remember who it was, they said, surely we need to talk about Williams being suspended twice this season and where's the discipline? No. Too long this team has been labelled as soft, as a bunch of fairies. I am so glad that we're playing on the edge. I don't care. I really don't care. Play on the edge. Have that aggression. Have that mongrel. Stand up for your teammates when they're getting pounded by Darcy Fogarty on Jacob Wiedering, almost breaking his vertebrae, going through him. Absolutely, that's what I want to see. I want to see these guys stick up their teammates. If they cop a week, they cop a week. I don't care. I don't care at this point. I want to see some mongrel in this team. And it's about time that Stocker, the likes of Stocker and Williams and Kennedy as well, are showing that aggression. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Black Karat over here. Let's start the crowd funds. I'll tell you what, that could get some legs. We've got to be careful with what – apparently this channel, we've got some power here. 12 and 10 has really taken off. We need to be very careful. No, it's exciting. So that's the MRO. All right. The Kool-Aid. The Kool-Aid. Now, on YouTube, I'm going to put a poll. It's basically just a yes or no question. Joe, I'm going to ask you first. Okay. Are you drinking the Kool-Aid?
Am I? Mate, I think Rocco said he made a gallon for me. I think I need a flagon at this point, or bloody a long neck or whatever. Mate, of course I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. Are you serious? Yes, absolutely.
I'm very curious because I'm going to put it up here on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, it's up there right now. Quickly put as many votes in as possible. Are you drinking the Kool-Aid? Are we going to beat the Cats this week? And are we going to turn – because what I felt on Saturday night, it's a hope more than what I'm confident, I'll be honest. I'm not confident about the Cats, but it's a hope. Like, if we can just do it, 4:35 at the MCG. And I'm sorry, no excuses. Sell that fucking stadium out this week. We have to.
Agree. Get there. If you've got nothing to do on Saturday afternoon, if you don't have a wedding, if you don't have whatever, make sure you're at the MCG. It's pretty simple. Look, for me, stars are aligning. Freo game got moved. It was going to be played in Tassie. Tassie rejected it. Going to be played in Geelong. Couldn't happen. Got played at the G. Tick. Jeremy Cameron does his hamstring. Out for 4 weeks. Tick. Like, I don't know if I'm reading into it too much without the game even being played, but we have matched up well on Geelong. We really have. Go back and look at our history against Geelong in recent years, back to 2016 when Gibbs had that game where he was thrown up after the game. We won by 24 points, whatever it was, and we were no chance that day. Beat them last year. We've had other very, very close contests. I'm not going to say that we will beat them. I'm just saying that I think we can. I think if we bring our best for long enough, if we provide that defensive structure that I've seen and tighten it up just a little bit more, I can't see why not. I really can't.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Surely every team has one upset win every year, right? What are the options for an upset win? I would argue the case that Geelong, Port Adelaide, and maybe the Giants in round 23. But I think Port Adelaide away and Geelong are the two last chances for us to actually get like a game where we're heavily, underdogs. And I think, there's just something in the air, and I don't know. If we don't do it this week, I won't be shattered, but
no,
because we've got a little bit of momentum, a little bit, it's just a fraction. It's really just a little bit. And I think obviously Geelong, they've just lost a really key piece of their forward line, and they were humming along that forward line, and who knows?
I mean, I don't know. If there was ever going to be a time where we had this run to the finals from the clouds, I just can't see it being any other year but this year, with the circumstances, with the drama, with the fact we've had a couple of wins, and it's Geelong at the G, and it's like, if we win this game, just watch the absolute groundswell when we play North and then Collingwood the week after to make it potentially 5 straight and go square the ledger at 9-9. That's what we're looking at here. Like, I'm sorry, that's reality at this point, is if we beat Geelong, we've got 2 cellar dwellers that we should be beating based on the way that we play this year and based on the way that we play against those teams. We could be 9-9, but this is the test. This is it. Like, this week is the week. How many times have we said this year, today's the day? We've taken the piss a little bit here and there, but I'm actually being dead serious by saying this is the week. If it's ever going to happen, this is the week. And if it doesn't, you can bin 12 and 10. I'll happily cop the criticism and all the emotional damage and whatnot. Come to me, inbox me, whatever. I'll probably won't reply to you. But, if we win this week, then I want the positive reinforcement. Joe, You're unreal. Yes, 12 and 10. I want merch. I want this. I want that. If we beat Geelong, that's where I want to see the groundswell. Let's get through this week.
The fans we have put up with too much crap for too long. Too long. It's time. This group, it's time. It's time for them to take ownership for the club. We can only support. We can't do the job on the field. Josh Blody will make it a $50 dono if we win this week. Wish. Wish.
Massive.
Love that. Speaking of, so as we move along, what are the changes that you're making, if any, for this week? In the comments, and you, Joe, as well. I think what we know so far, we don't have an injury report. I don't know where Zach Fisher's at. I would assume Zach Williams is ready to come back in. So what are you doing with changes, Joe, and you guys at home?
Paul Sebastiani, by the way, stop with the 12 and 10 at 16 and 10. That's what I want to hear, mate. Not the shit. Not the shit game at half time on Saturday. They'd get on board. Fucking oath. Outs. You'd expect for me, I reckon it's obviously going to be Williamson. That Williams is ready. He was okay, but he had his moments, but it wasn't enough. And I think Williams provides a lot more back there. So Willow out, Williams in. And for me, I couldn't give a fuck about structure. Levi Casbolt comes out for Zach Fisher. Run small. Try and run with him. Let's do it. We've got nothing to lose at this point. Like, Reece Stanley isn't an elite ruckman in this competition. I think Tom DeConning and Jack Silvani, as we did against Riley O'Brien, should be able to have Reece Stanley and Mark Blitzard's number based on work rate and based on athleticism. So Williams, Fisher in for me, Casbolt and Williamson out, and just run with them. Just run with them all day. If we can run with them all day, they're an old side. Run them off their legs. I'm not kidding. They're the oldest side in the comp. Like, they play a slower game style. They try and break teams down because they can't run all day. They just don't have the runners. So break it open. Like, I can't stress that enough. Can't stress it enough.
I think there's an interesting There's an interesting point there, because I actually understood the merit of playing Casbolt, because Darcy, he low-key one of the best ruckmen in 2021. We'll start there. Massive body. Tom has missed a lot of football, and I just don't know if he's ready to take it with both hands by himself. I think 2022, full preseason, no problem. However, I'm not as worried about Stanley and Radaglia. I'm not sure if Radaglia played last week, but I'm not as worried about that matchup as what I was the Darcy, with the potential of Lob coming in as well, which he didn't. But I'm with you. Do we really need Casbolt in against the Cats? I don't know. We'll see what everyone's saying in the comments here. I'm with you on that. Jack Martin, for me, I don't know. Is he fit? Is he just out of form? I just don't know.
He looked good. He had his moments. I mean, he could have easily had 2 or 3. He actually had a few shots on goal. So I saw that burst come back in patches. It's a little bit sloppy. But I think he's been better the last 2 weeks, especially the Adelaide game. He looked like he was back to almost his full fitness in the Adelaide game.
Adelaide game was good. I just thought he was just errant with his kicking, and for me, bad kicking's bad footy. We need a Jack Martin game. We need him to, have a 2, 3, 4 goal game. We need that. I really do. I really do think that, because he's a star type player. He's got that's why we got him, no? Like, so he can become a star at Carlton. And I don't know. I'm just big on a big game from him. I'm with you on us running them off their feet. I think that's important. Fisher, is he ready? I don't know. I guess we'll know tomorrow, because the injury report will come out. So I think we'll wait for that.
For sure. Yeah. And I mean, in the comments, got a few people saying Casbolt needs to stay in for structure. I'm sorry. I'm not with you. Like, the guy can't move. He can't jump. He can't outbody his opponents. He's done. And I love Levi. He's been a great servant for this club. But fuck me, like, you might as well play the statue out there. After what I saw on Saturday, it was up until the last quarter. It was bad. It was bad.
Yeah. Well, yeah. That's
your point. I understood the merit of it for Saturday's game, because Darcy's that bigger body. He really throws his weight around at the stoppages. And Casbolt, to his credit, he was able to body him at least at stoppages to give TDK a bit of a chop out. We don't need that this week. We just don't.
Very true. Very true. A few more bits and pieces and some thank yous to make. Those of you who watched the video last week, there were a couple. The one with Bernd Vala, I want to thank him for coming on. That was really cool to get just a view from outside our Melbourne, Australia bubble on how fans are viewed and how he speaks about fans. I think it was really cool to hear him speak about that. Also, we've got this Guernsey. So if you're not aware, we're running a competition here on the channel. Now, this was donated by Jordan Connolly, very kindly. Now, they made these Guernseys in 2014 to celebrate the 150-year anniversary of the club. You'll see the premierships there. And we're giving it away for free. Well, kind of, not really. To enter and to celebrate the store being open, what we're doing is you purchase anything from the Blue Abroad store. The link is now in the comments, and I've pinned it up on YouTube. You will automatically go in the draw for the Guernsey, and at the end of July, I'll do a live reveal of who the winner is. So there's a bit of that. I want to thank Willem Bow, who has jumped on board on the crew. What he does is he goes to the fan cams, the live fan cams. He downloads them and he chops them up individually and then sends them to me to re-upload. So that is phenomenal, and I really appreciate him and his time and effort. Also, I want to give a little shout out to Ethan Ali. Right now, have a look at this Patrick Cripps thing that he made. Now, Ethan, if you're not aware, Ethan does the preview and the review thumbnails for the channel, and he just made this today, the Patrick Cripps graphic here. He's 17 years old, and he's super talented. And I'm hoping that we can get him a gig either at the club or somewhere. Someone's going to nab him up. I'm really proud to say that he's done some work for the channel here. But he's a superstar. If you don't follow him on Instagram, please go and show him some love. He's a 17-year-old kid, super talented. There's quite a few of them in the team, Joe. We've got Ari, Helena, who do their thing with the articles. Just the young brigade, mate. The future of the club is in great hands.
Love it. Need it. They're the what is it? The 20 to 23-year-old, in the playing list that in 5 years' time they'll peak and just take the channel to another level. So no, we really appreciate the work. It's amazing.
Absolutely. Now we've got a few more things to talk about. Now, talk to me about the Almost Blues Brothers. Where are we at? What's going on? And what do we got to look forward to?
Oh, there's a lot going on. Look, if you listen, you'd know that it was myself, Daniel, and Julian. Jules has embarked on a journey to Spain recently to reunite with his lovely partner over there. So he's left the show temporarily while he's indefinitely in Spain. Reese Miller, one of it's actually Julian's sister's partner. He's another blue bagger, and he's jumped on board and he's taken it with both hands. Great addition to the show. Quality of the show has actually picked up since Jules left, so it's been good. No, we love Jules. We miss him. But Jules is still going to be a part of it. The podcast drops every Tuesday at 6 a.m. now. So wake up Tuesday morning. If you're in the shower and you need something to listen to, chuck it on. If you're in the car on the way to work, chuck it on. If you're on the train on the way to work, chuck it on. Goes for about an hour. Just review the game, review the AFL round in general as well. And we preview next week's game. If you're familiar with the Carlton show and Andy Marr, Baz, and Gex, they were the inspiration for this. I was a massive fan of theirs, and I've had the pleasure of having a chat to Baz a few times now. So it's very, very similar sort of setup. 6 a.m. tomorrow. Jump on board. I don't know. Apparently, we've got an okay podcast, is what I'm being told.
No, you do very well. I'm so proud of you guys and stoked how you just sort of took it on board and you've just run with it, and I'm glad you're enjoying it. I think you guys do a phenomenal job, and just look up Almost Blues Brothers on Instagram or Spotify or iTunes, wherever you listen, or you can look up Blue Abroad Podcast Network, so they're there. Tomorrow night, the Jumper Punch. I'm not sure if any of the boys are in the crowd, the audience right now, but it's must view tomorrow night at 8 p.m. The guest, I'm not going to tell you who it is, but you must be watching tomorrow night. I'll just say that. It's going to be fire, and I'm looking forward to that. We've got the Blues Footy Podcast, boys, 6:30 p.m. on Thursday now. Now that we know where the teams are coming out and who's going to be playing, they're going to do a show at 6:30 on Thursdays. And then obviously we've got Saturdays now. Riley Starray doing his thing, co-hosting with someone different every week. So good vibes this week, Joe. Appreciate you coming on. I hope you enjoyed yourself.
I'll be here whenever you need me, mate. Unless we lose this week, or if we finish 8-14, I'm not going to be sent in public. Don't even message me.
Well, I need jumper punches from you this week. Otherwise, you can't fuck with the energy, mate. Winning is winning.
That's it.
Oh, also, how could I forget, Pommy? I'm apologising. Pommy now does the watch-alongs during games. We love that. Very entertaining. I'm actually working on something, a compilation video, which hopefully will be out in the next few days. But we do love Pommy doing the watch-alongs and seeing the live decline into insanity.
No better person to do a watch-along. That's all I'll say. We've got the best person on the planet to do a live watch-along for this club.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I believe I have been a royal melt by forgetting him. So I think that's the term to use. So anyway, have a good night, guys. Enjoy the week. Enjoy the win. Joe, thank you very much. Listen to you tomorrow morning. Go the Mighty Blues.